And welcome back to another episode of the Total Sports Live podcast. It's Jovan Alford here, and usually I would say I'm back with some more best bets, but we're not doing that this week. I decided to mix it up and throw a little bit of different video in the rotation for everybody. Instead, I'm going to be talking some ball. Yes, some ball. Football, that is, not basketball. We'll save that for later in the year with our teams. We'll see how that goes. But I'm here to talk some good ball on the gridiron here with my good friend Chris Shanafelt, who you have probably heard on this podcast many of times over the years. You might have even heard Chris on his own pod over the years, on air with Chris Shanafelt, the CS podcast, worldwide, world acclaimed, podcast where he's interviewed a lot of draft prospects over the years. Trust me, folks, if you have gone through the archives, you will see a lot of guys that he has talked to over the years that are either playing in the NFL, the CFL, the XFL, USFL, pretty much probably played all
The
over.
Spring
And
League,
yeah, the
RIP,
Spring
the
League.
Spring League.
Shout out to the Spring League. Was way ahead of their time, and that's how we eventually got to some real spring football here. But like I said, we're here to talk with my guy Chris. Chris, how's it going? Appreciate you, man, hopping on. Ready to talk some week 3 and everything that's going on with your Chicago Bears.
Oh man, yeah, my pleasure, man. It's always a good time getting on the podcast with you, whether it's here on Total Sports Live or my podcast. It's always a blast talking ball with you, man.
Yeah, for sure. And again, on this week's pod, we're going to be talking about those Chicago Bears because things are not
Oh
going
man.
well right now in the Windy City. First, it was the Chicago White Sox, and it seems like the Bears are doing their best White Sox impersonation right now. And in addition to that, we're also going to be talking about some other happenings and news around the league. A pretty quiet week for news in the NFL, which is it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But before we get into all that, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Total Sports Live. Check it out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere you get your podcast at. You can also check out this podcast on YouTube. This podcast will be uploaded. The video will be uploaded to YouTube. Just search Jovan Alford on YouTube, and that should pop up for you. And also, don't forget to check out TotalSportsLive.com. So with all that out the way, let's jump into what we're here to talk about, and that is the Chicago. That's the Chicago Bears here. Bears are off to an ominous 0-2 start under first-year head coach Ben Johnson, which no one expected, especially after the preseason that the Bears had. I think the Bears were undefeated in the preseason, which is not necessarily the greatest of omens when you go undefeated in preseason. Sometimes that doesn't bring good things. The team suffered a tough loss at home in week 1 to the Minnesota Vikings. And then they got hammered by the Detroit Lions last week by a score of 52-21. It almost looked like the Lions refound themselves, vintage Lions, against their old head coach. I think there's like so many different ways, Chris, that I can just, tackle this with you about this team, because I have a lot of questions and just commentary just with how everything has gone with them just over these first two games. I think the best place probably to start at is the quarterback. Are fans out on Caleb Williams? Because I feel like there was almost this, okay, year 1 as a rookie, it didn't go well, but he had some instability. The head coach gets canned the day after Thanksgiving, which is just brutal, by the way. You go to Thomas Brown, you kind of you see some kind of glimpses here and there, but it just never really, popped and came to fruition. You then off season, you bring in the offensive minded head coach and Ben Johnson, and you see what Ben Johnson's been able to do with Jared Goff, and you're thinking, wow, you see what he's done with a pocket passer. Imagine what he can do with a guy with Caleb Williams, with his mobility, with his arm talent. Like, there's something there. And then you upgrade the offensive line. You bring in a Colston Loveland. You bring in some, Zacchaeus, Luther Burden paired with a Dunze, and, DJ Moore. You seem like the pieces are all there for Caleb Williams to take this next step in this next leap, but it just hasn't happened yet. So are fans out on Caleb, or are they still trying to see, let's give him some grace to see how this kind of plays out through the rest of this season?
You definitely have parts of the fan base that, I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, Tyson Bagent did have himself a hell of a preseason, and like you said, they went undefeated. They did tie their first game with the Miami Dolphins, so they went 2-0-1. But
That is true.
don't forget that most of these preseason games are against 2s and 3s that Tyson Bagent was going up against. I mean, he's a very good backup quarterback. They extended him. They gave him a contract extension just a week or two before the regular season started. That is what Tyson Bagent is in the NFL. I mean, we've seen him get thrown into action in regular season games, and I'm not saying he's looked bad by any means, but he doesn't look like a competent starter in the NFL that you would have success with. So, I mean, unfortunately, I think every fan base has those fans that they see a bit of success even in the preseason when it doesn't matter necessarily. And just because of that success that they've seen, they think that it'll automatically translate to the regular season. And I mean, Bears fans should know more than any other fan base that that is not the case. We've gone through quarterback carousels here ever since I've been following the team, basically. As they say, the backup quarterback is always the most popular player on the team. It seems like when things aren't going well. So, yeah, there are parts of the fan base that are starting to already be over with Caleb Williams, who was just the number one pick last year. I mean, you do have to give this some time. As you mentioned, the mess that he encountered last year. It's so funny because if you remember the discussion before the draft last year, and then even after the draft was, wow, this might be the best position a rookie quarterback has ever entered into, just with all the pieces that were there. The year before that, they started to click on all cylinders towards the end of the year. Justin Fields' last year here, and it looked like the offense was starting to get into a rhythm. Now you switch out the quarterback and you're pretty much just pressing the reset button, which was last year. And it doesn't help that after week 5, you fire Shane Waldron, who was just hired.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
season.
that.
And then the day after Thanksgiving, after another blown lead and terrible clock management by Matt Eberflus and company, they decided to fire Matt Eberflus. That's when Thomas Brown took over. And again, things didn't really get too much better from there. I mean, I think a lot of the players were kind of just happy with some type of change at the top in terms of Matt Eberflus. But, not to say that this is kind of looked at as another rookie year for Caleb Williams, but he's learning an entire new offense. He learned an offense last year. I'm sure Thomas Brown's tweaked some things when he took over as offensive coordinator and soon to be interim head coach later on in the season. I mean, there's just so much going on, let alone it was his rookie season. And now here we are again, pressing the reset button on a new coaching regime. And things are going to take time, obviously. I'm not out yet personally. It has been disappointing. I would have liked to have seen some growth within these first 2 games based off of what he showed last year, Caleb, that is. But again, I also understand that, and Ben Johnson has been on record saying this too. I mean, it's going to take some time, which obviously every coach is going to say that. But you go back and look at Ben Johnson's start in Detroit. They did get off to a hot start offensively, but as a team in general, his first year in Detroit, I think they got off to a rocky start when he was the OC there. Unfortunately, you've seen some progress from week 1 to week 2 with Caleb. Despite what others might say, 99% of the time, if your defense allows 51 points, you're going to lose that game.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, right? Like you said, like in week 1, it was kind of like, okay, the Bears like kind of like gave that one away. Like Caleb looked very good on the scripted plays, right? The first drive scripted plays. You could see him still trying to kind of do the whole playoff script like he did in college. Like, I can make this throw, I can do this. And
it was like every play. It was like every play against Minnesota.
He was trying to move out the pocket and throw these like Mahomes-esque passes. And it's like, we don't need that right now, especially in Ben Johnson's offense, which I feel like it's really predicated on what you can do in the pocket. And can you make those reads and get your playmakers the ball right? That's what makes, I think, the Lions offense worked so well when Johnson was there. It was more like, hey, Goff, get the ball out of your hands real quick. Get to your playmaker, St. Brown, Williams, let them go. Laporta do their thing, the running backs, boom. And I think that's what Caleb still, like you said, it's still a learning process, and it's going to take time, right? Because like you said, his first year was kind of a wash because it's just like you learn one system, you learn Shane Waldron's out, Thomas Brown's in, then Thomas Brown becomes head coach, so now you're moving the wide receivers coach into the coordinator spot, so you're throwing different things at him, and now he's learning a whole new, probably more complex, system, to where you might got to give him grace just because, like you said, he can only play offense, right? You do wish that he would be better with some of his decision making, especially with some of the passes he threw. I think the one that everybody was talking about on social media was the one pass where he threw it and somehow, some way it got, I forgot, was it a Dunze? It got to Dunze and there was like 4 Lions defenders with their hands up and it somehow got there. And as a fan, you're probably sitting there like, no, don't throw it. Oh, great. You caught it, but you're like, no, don't do that. Don't do that, because you won't. 99 times out of 100, you won't get that lucky. Like, it will, get intercepted. And you mentioned the defense and just their struggles. Like you said, giving up 52 points, there's nothing you can do on offense, right? That's you can do what you can only do so much, right? If your defense can't stop a nosebleed, like, you're in trouble. Do you think with the defensive issues, do you feel like this is more of a Ryan Poles issue, given that the Bears did such a great job, of prioritizing the offensive line, like really like building up the trenches, getting, Jonah Jackson, getting Drew Dahlman in free agency, trading for Joe Tooney. You still have Darnell Wright, who's probably one of the best young right tackles in the league. Braxton Jones at left tackle. It is what it is type of thing, but at least you have a good solid 4. It seems like defensively, the Bears kind of just like kick the can on like getting guys, especially in that front 7.
So, quick comment about the offensive line. I think you have a pretty good offensive line if Braxton Jones is your worst of the starting 5.
Yes.
So,
yep.
Jonah Jackson has struggled so far the first couple of games. I think he's more so just out of shape more than anything. But again, also talking about the offensive line, 3 of these guys are new pieces to the team. I mean, they got to take some time to gel together, and I think that'll be a work in progress, but I think it will improve as the season goes on. At least that's my hope. In terms of the defensive, I think a lot of the blame has to go to Ryan Poles. I'm not saying Dennis Allen doesn't get any of the blame, and certainly not saying the players don't get any of the blame, but Ryan Poles has really neglected, in my opinion, the defensive line specifically. He went out and traded for Montez Sweat, which his first half of the season that he was here, he was great. He was awesome. He went to the Pro Bowl, finished the season, I believe, with 13 and a half sacks. I think 8 of those sacks came in Chicago and 5 of those came with Washington. He was awesome. Since then, he's kind of been MIA. I know last season he was battling injuries all season long. I don't know if those injuries are still lingering or what's going on, but he is not looking like a $98 million pass rusher that the Bears paid him to be. And again, gave up a 2nd-round draft pick for him. This could also go towards the offensive line as well. It's great that they were able to sign Drew Dahlman in free agency. It's great that they were able to acquire Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney, an all-pro, one of the best, if not the best at his position. It would be really nice if Ryan Poles is able to address these problems in the draft, and you could kind of build these players up to being a Joe Tooney, which I get. You're not going to find one of those in every draft. I get that, but having to spend money in free agency to fix these problems because Karan Amagaji, who you drafted in the 3rd round 2 years ago, is just not NFL ready, and he's always banged up. He's dealing with an injury this week, which is kind of mind-boggling because he was inactive last week, just a healthy scratch. So I don't know what happened. Maybe something in practice. I'm not entirely sure. Right. But and we're already off to now. I know it's still early, but it is kind of concerning when already 2 of your 2nd-round draft picks that you just drafted in this past draft, Ozzie Trapillo, offensive tackle, and Shamar Turner, defensive end, healthy scratches last week. You should not be having second round draft picks from this draft as healthy scratches. So I think a lot of this does fall on Ryan Poles. I think he's drafted 34 players since he's been the Bears GM. He's yet to have a player that he's drafted make the Pro Bowl. And I mean,
that's not good.
Yeah. And as we know, I mean, a lot of guys pass on the Pro Bowl. So it's a lot of
right.
guys at their position that are getting these Pro Bowl votes. And Ryan Poles is yet to find one. So I don't know if that answers your question, but all in all, I think Ryan Poles is to blame for a lot of this mess.
Yeah, no, and when I thought about that, like my first like direct correlation was to the defense because, like you said, we saw them free agency this past spring, like dump a whole bunch of money and trade acquisitions into the offensive line. Obviously, in the draft, they've been pretty spot on, you would say, with some of their draft picks for the most part. You know, when it comes to drafting offensive players, you get a Dunze to pair with DJ Moore. You draft Luther Burden. I still think they're trying to figure out what role he serves on this offense. You draft Colston Loveland. He hasn't really popped or got really any targets, which I know that's been a concern for a lot of Bears fans because on the flip side, they see Tyler Warren doing what he's doing in Indianapolis, and people will do the whole Monday morning quarterback thing when it comes to drafting, especially when the guy before them or goes after them is performing well. And you say, well, why didn't we take that guy? We saw we did in Penn State. Like, you didn't think that could translate to the NFL? Like,
we did that with Patrick Mahomes, Mitch Trubisky, and now Bears fans are doing it with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it's the never ending story with that. And when you look, like you say, you look at the defense, that was my biggest issue with this team. Like, you had Montez Sweat, great. You didn't go out and you give Grady Jarrett like 3 years, $42 million, which I'm like, okay, that's, you know, I get it because you need somebody in the middle, you know, for this defense. Jarrett didn't have the greatest year last year, but you're thinking veteran presence on this team.
I think more than anything, they overpaid for the veteran presence. The leadership, I think, is what they paid for. And I mean, it's unfortunate, but this team didn't have any real leaders, I don't think, besides, you know, they brought in Joe Thuney. There's a legit leader. And then I think they wanted someone on the defensive line. And I don't know if Montez Sweat is that guy or not, but it doesn't really seem like it. So they went out and got Grady Jarrett. I think that contract was signed obviously for his talent, sure, and he's had a hell of a career, but he's a little, you know,
getting up there in age. He's slowing down a little bit,
and he's been banged up the first couple of weeks. So, but in terms of that contract, sorry to cut you off, I think they more so than anything paid for leadership, which sounds ridiculous to me at the NFL level, but
right, because you could have used that money and better allocated it for another position, like maybe an upgrade on the pass rush that's not Dayo Abedenjo. Like, I'm sorry, like when I saw the Bears
factor in Dayo and Grady Jarrett's contract and just go all in on Milton Williams.
Come on. Or Josh Sweat off the edge, like, or some of the pass rushers that we've just seen come off the market just these past few weeks. Jadeveon Clowney in Chicago would have been an upgrade. Darius Smith would have completed the NFC North draft.
No kidding.
He would have did it if Zadarius Smith would have been a great option. There's guys out there that I felt like they should have went after, but they decided to play this game of we'll pivot and try to like do things like our way and like see see it work out. And then, like you mentioned, your draft pick's not getting on the field. Like you said, Avi Trapil not getting on the field, and he was a guy that looked like I think he was competing for the left tackle spot with Braxton Jones and even Theo Benedict. He started to kind of get up there. But your second round pick, you obviously drafted him for a reason. You thought he was going to be the guy to replace Braxton Jones. Like, that was supposed to be your guy on the left side. And then Shamar Turner is nowhere to be found. Like, and again, you need pass rush. You need guys that can get to the quarterback. Why is he not seeing the field?
So with Shamar Turner, I do know he suffered an injury. It was either at the end of OTAs or maybe at the very beginning. I think he was out all training camp. I think it was in OTAs when he got hurt.
Which is a problem.
Right. And I think Dennis Allen spoke yesterday, and he said that they're just trying to ramp him up. But I mean, the reporters were told he was a healthy scratch. Why is he a healthy
which you
scratch?
assume because when we hear healthy scratch, we're thinking, okay, he's just inactive.
Right.
They just didn't want to put him on the game day roster this week. Not
exactly.
He's banged up and we're trying to ramp him up. What?
Right. Who is telling the reporters he's a healthy scratch? Because there's more than one beat reporter. Everyone had it. He was a healthy scratch along with Ozzie Trapillo. And then my issue with Ozzie Trapillo, and he might be a Bears tackle for the next 10 years. Maybe he'll have a hell of a career. I don't know. My issue with Ozzie Trapillo, and it always seems to go down this way with the Chicago Bears. They tried doing it with Kyle Long 10 years ago. They've tried doing it with Cody Whitehair a handful of years ago. Why are you drafting a player who only played right tackle, and right away in his rookie year, you're trying to turn him into a left tackle? Why can't you just go out and draft a player that played left tackle in college and have them transition into the pros at their natural position? Why do we have to change positions for these offensive linemen? It seems to be a regular thing with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that's puzzling, because playing right tackle is way different than, hey, I need you to protect the quarterback's blind side. Because most of the times you're going to be lined up probably against most teams' best pass rusher on that side, like not on the right side. Like, even though there are some great right tackles, Jordan Mailata is one of them. Great right tackle. Oh no, great left tackle. Lane Johnson's on the right. Lane Johnson's on the right. So, but like you said, why are you doing the opposite? Why are you, like you said, taking a right to turn into the left? Like, that's just gonna complicate, matters even more. So yeah, Ryan Poles, I think you probably would agree with this, Chris, that he's on the hot seat. Like,
I wish I could, man. I wish I could. I think it was just maybe 5 weeks before the regular season kicked off, they extended him.
Yeah, that's right. He got the extension. So, and I know that doesn't make Bears fans happy, because again, you look at the product. I forgot, somebody had put out a stat that said something along the lines of that trade that them and the Panthers made and what the record have been since then. I think it was like Chicago's like 12-24 or 15 wins or something like that. Like,
they've been, if I had to guess,
they've been on par with the Panthers, which is crazy.
Exactly. They've been the same team, basically, the both of them.
Just with different colors. Same team, different colors.
Different colors, different animals.
Yep. Same spill. This is a Total Sports Live podcast here. Jovan Alford here with Chris Shanafelt, breaking down the NFL and no Chicago Bears. So looking forward to this weekend's games, Chris. Bears return home to face the Dallas Cowboys. This is also the return of Matt Eberflus, which should be very interesting to see how the crowd reacts to that. Eberflus obviously is not giving no attention to it. He's told reporters he didn't even cross his mind. I don't believe that one bit, because Matt, we are all human at the end of the day. Like, and I know you want to get your lick back after they fired you at the day after Thanksgiving like that. So I know you want some revenge. But Chris, what do you think, in your eyes, what must the Bears do to take down this Cowboys team to avoid going 0-3? Because we know what the record is in the NFL when the team goes 0-2. You're already fighting out of a hole. 0-3, it's, hey man, we're not going to win the division. We got to hope that we turn it around to get that third wild card spot.
Right, and it doesn't help that the Bears play in arguably the best division in the NFL or even the NFC. Yeah. I mean, the NFC North is certainly stacked. I honestly think it comes from the defense side of the ball. You have to be concerned with this Dallas Cowboys offense against this Bears defense, at least with what we've seen the last 5 quarters of Bears defense, allowing 21 points in the fourth quarter against Minnesota, and then, of course, 51 points last week against Detroit. I mean, they're down 3 cornerbacks already. Jalen Johnson,
which is not good.
His status is up in the air. He could very well be out for the season. Kyler Gordon, I'm not exactly sure when we could expect him back, but he's a key player on this defense. He might be the best player on this defense when healthy, honestly, him or Jalen Johnson. And then they're down Jalen Jones as well, who they acquired just before the regular season. He spent some time here last year as well, more so just a special teamer, but still, I'm very concerned with this Bears secondary going up against Dak Prescott and specifically the two wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I think both of those guys could have a big day at Soldier Field. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson has – I don't know what PFF or what the stats are out there looking like, but he has
We probably
to
don't
be,
want to look. We probably don't want to look.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten off to a very rough start this season. And unfortunately, he's had to take over that number one spot with Jalen Johnson being down week one and then going down in the first half of last week's game against Detroit. Again, his status is unknown. He could be out for the season. So Tyreek Stevenson being the team's number one cornerback definitely concerns me going up against CeeDee Lamb. You look at the injuries, even at the linebacker position. Of course, you got Tremaine Edmonds, who has been underwhelming as a Bear so far, if I had to say, entering his this is his third season in Chicago. And then TJ Edwards, the former Eagle, he's been awesome. He's been awesome, unfortunately battling hamstring injuries. He was out week one. He played last week. And then, of course, a big play down the field to Jameson Williams. And you could just see him pull up on that hamstring trying to chase him down. He was never going to catch him regardless, healthy or not, but that's neither here nor there. So, you know, this could be a game where Jack Sanborn is sitting back looking like, hey, you know, TJ Edwards is out. You guys could really use me on that defense. Now, of course, he followed Eberflus with Dallas. So it's the Bears will have their hands full. I know they started out when the lines first came out. I think the Bears were actually a 1-point favorite. Now they're a 1.5 point underdog. So Vegas sees it as a pretty close matchup. Dallas's defense isn't anything to be all too worried about either, though. I mean, I know this is a Bears offense that has kind of struggled in bits and in times this season, but this could be a game where the offense can get things going as well. So it could be a high scoring game. I know Mike Tannenbaum. I mean, I don't really take his opinion. It's not really worth too much for me. And it was just an interesting comment. He thinks that this is going to be the highest scoring game in NFL history, which is mind blowing to think. He thinks that this game could go well over 100 points total. I don't know about all of that. There are two defenses that have struggled. I mean, it looked like prime Russell Wilson last week when the Cowboys played the New York Giants. So it could be a shootout. I don't know if we're going to break the all-time scoring record combined with both teams, but I hope the Bears don't allow the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for a third straight week, though.
yes. That definitely cannot happen at all. But I do agree with like every point that you said, right? You know, obviously for the Bears defense, it's going to be, can you get pressure? Can you try to get pressure and help?
That's going to be key.
Help your corners just keep CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens in front of them, which is going to be a challenge. Like Tyreek Stevenson, Nahshon Wright have their hands full with them. But if your line can get some type of pressure, don't try to keep the running game intact. Cowboys running game haven't been all that spectacular. I know Javonte Williams has become like the touchdown goal line red zone merchant, a la like Jamal Williams back in a couple years ago with the Detroit Lions. Like he's somehow like found the fountain of youth a little bit with Detroit. But I think, like you said, I think the Bears offense, like I agree with you in that this could be the game that I think that the offense have that moment and wakes up, just given what we saw from this Cowboys defense. Like it did not look great. I know everybody points to week one against the Eagles. They did their thing, whatever. But we all saw what happened last week. Like Russell Wilson was out here throwing moon balls to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. And no disrespect, I think the Bears have a comparable 1-2, and their 2 is definitely better than Wan'Dale Robinson and Rome Odunze. So if there's a week where Ben Johnson can probably silence the doubters a little bit and saying like, hey, my offense is still that good. I know I'm not Detroit. I think I agree with you. I think this is the game where they can really get something, going. Like you said, I don't think it's going to be scores record broken type thing. But if the Giants offense, which is not as talented on paper, have the Bears, and the Bears have a better offensive line, I believe. Obviously, I think their wide receiving core is better than the Giants. I think they have a better running game than the Giants. Like all those things we said, there's no reason why this Bears team should not walk out of Soldier Field with 27 points at least. Will that be enough to win? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I don't see how they. I would be pretty disappointed if they don't score 24, 27 points, and hopefully that's enough. You mentioned the running game. DeAndre Swift is questionable. They have Kyle Monangai, the 7th-round rookie out of Rutgers, and Roschon Johnson, who the coaching staff just, for whatever reason, does not want to put on the field on offense. They mainly just use them on special teams. But if DeAndre Swift can't go, I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie 7th-round pick running back in Monangai. And is he really ready for that workload? I don't know. So I really hope DeAndre Swift is able to go. I mean, he's actually – now, unfortunately, in Detroit, they had to get away from the running game very early on. But against Minnesota and early on against Detroit, I think DeAndre Swift has gotten off to a pretty good start to this season. So I'm hoping he can go. He could have a pretty big impact on this game if he does go. If he doesn't, I'll be pretty concerned with the Bears' running attack.
You see what happens when you give DeAndre Swift a good offensive line, like things like start to happen. Like obviously, like you said, year one was bad because the offensive line wasn't great. You give him a good offensive line, he starts to look like Eagles DeAndre Swift just a little bit. Because like you said, in that Vikings game, I thought he was running the ball hard. I thought he was running physical, like in the tackles, like lowering the shoulder on people. I said, okay, DeAndre
there is
Swift.
Some. I know he's not really looked at as much of a run blocker, but he was blocking some guys last week, which kind of caught me by surprise.
Yeah, his pass pro was not the greatest. It's not the greatest because I know with the Eagles they took him out for a lot of times for Kenneth Gainwell to put him in a pass pro, but he's adequate to do that job. So we'll see what happens in week 3 for the Bears. Will the Bears avoid 0-3 and will they pull the upset even though they are, like you said, they're short underdogs? So we'll see. Can they pull the upset? If they pull the upset, maybe they can salvage the season. It should be interesting.
I sure hope so, man. I mean, this team they affect my mood on Mondays or the day after games way more than they should, man.
More than the Chicago Bulls.
Unfortunately, I mean, I will say Ryan Poles is starting to reach that Arturas Karnisovas, Mark Eversley status, man. He's getting up.
That's never good. That's never good.
It is not. No, it is not.
That's never good. That's not good at all. But we'll see how that breaks down. Before we wrap on this pod, we got a couple more things we want to talk about with everybody before we wrap up here, and that's going around the league and talking about the best 2-0 team in the NFL and the 0-2 team that can get back on track. There are about a few teams that are still undefeated in the league. Obviously, week 3, we saw that has already gotten underway on Thursday night. Buffalo taking down Miami Dolphins 31-21. Bills are now 3-0. Dolphins are now 0-3. They might be looking for a new quarterback in the draft, but that's neither here nor there. But like I said, week 3 is here. It got us thinking who's the best 2-0 team and which 0-2 team can get back on track. So, Chris, who do you think is the best 2-0 team right now in the league?
You know, I've been going back and forth between a few teams. And the more I think about it, I think I'm just going to go with the team that has left the biggest, that has, I guess, impressed me the most so far throughout the 2 weeks. And unfortunately, it pains me to say it. I got to go with the Green Bay Packers, man. I mean, between that week 1 dominance performance against the Detroit Lions, Detroit had no chance in that game. It was over very early on. And then and then you go look back at last Thursday night's game against Washington. They owned that game from start to finish.
Did a great job.
I gotta say, man, I think I wasn't sure how I felt about Jordan Love entering this season. I know last season was a little bit of a down year. 2 years ago, he went off, but I gotta say, I think Jordan Love is a damn good quarterback, and look at the pieces that he's throwing to. I mean, they're still without Christian Watson. Jaden Reed went down last week. Who knows when he comes? Who knows when he's going to be coming back? Tucker Kraft has suddenly emerged as one of the league's best tight ends. Yep. I mean, and then of course you got Josh Jacobs in the backfield. I mean, that is an offense that is just humming right now. And of course, with LaFleur calling plays, I don't see that coming to an end anytime soon. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they acquire Micah Parsons.
Right.
To go with Rashawn Gary and that defense. I mean, their secondary, I have some questions about, but Evan Williams, the young safety, I think he's been making some pretty solid plays. The defensive coordinator, whose name skips me,
Jeff Hafley.
Yes. I mean, he has been awesome since they hired them as their defensive coordinator coming over from Boston College. So the way things are gelling, it's still very early on, obviously, but 2 weeks in, I don't think there's a team that's impressed me more than the Green Bay Packers. So I'll have to say, as of right now, they're my pick as the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, for me, I'm leaning the same way with you. The Green Bay Packers, like you said, they've just been dominant, and they definitely took a lot of things from how their season ended, especially in the playoffs, to the Eagles, and like totally, completely flipped the script. And obviously, getting a guy like Micah Parsons just changes the whole trajectory of your defense. Granted, you did move on from, Kenny Clark, who's looked actually pretty well with the Cowboys. Surprisingly, he looks like he's fitting in well, but getting a game changer and Micah Parsons, which I think for most Packers fans, they knew that for this team to take that next step, they needed a pass rusher. They knew you needed to come away with a Myles Garrett or maybe a Trey Hendrickson. Nobody had Micah Parsons on the mind, but somehow, some way, 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark was able to get it done, and you're starting to see the benefits are, starting to, roll in for him. Lucas Van Ness.
I've never seen a rumor on Twitter surface and then a week later it comes true.
Right.
And of course, it's for the Green Bay Packers. What the hell?
Right. What's that Twitter account? Ricky Scoops or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
He's like been on it with a lot of these things, and they just end up happening just randomly. Just these moves be happening, and like you said, the Parsons thing just like happened so fast before you know it, he's in Green Bay. They're playing well. Like I said, Lucas Van Ness for a first-round pick. A lot of people were down on him. He's starting to really emerge, but I think that happens because when you got Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary, you're going to get favorable matchups because we're seeing Hafley not only keep Parsons on the outside, he's also bringing them inside on the defensive line. And that's put more pressure on your guard play. Like I said, linebackers are solid. Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker. And then the secondary, like you said, little concern, question marks, especially around quarterback too.
Xavier McKinney's a baller, though.
McKinney, the McKinney-Williams tandem right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Outstanding. Javon Bullard, who played well, played some slot, played some safety last year. Got Keyshawn Nixon as your CB1, which he has surprisingly rose to the occasion. For that.
So far,
so good for a guy.
I was just a little uneasy about it when they traded Jair Alexander. I mean, I know Jair's kind of been banged up lately, and he hasn't gotten off to the hottest start in Baltimore. But
no,
I would have liked. I mean, again, this is now me speaking as a non-Bears fan, but in terms of just a football fan. I'd have liked to see another piece or two added at cornerback specifically. I think they're set at safety. I like what they got going on.
Oh, yeah. No, safety definitely. And then I think they did sign Nate Hobbs in free agency.
That's right.
4 year, I think it was like 4 year, $48 million deal. But Nate Hobbs almost was like Jair. They come with the injury concern. Yeah. So, and Carrington Valentine, they do have him. So, he's kind of like really developed over the last few years. I think it's like a 7th round pick or something like that. I think Valentine was.
Yeah, so. I think you're right.
So they got something. Like you said, offense is just what is there to say? Like Jordan Love is playing outstanding. He's not turning the ball over. He looks very decisive on where he wants the ball to go.
And he's throwing to guys that you've never even heard of besides Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, who's now hurt. Christian Watson hasn't played yet. I mean, what the hell?
Dontavian Wicks has now become a thing again after he had the drop issues last year. Like Wicks is becoming a thing. They got the 2 rookie wide receivers and Matthew Golden, the 1st round pick, and Savion Williams. Like before we know it, like those 2 guys could pop, next few weeks, and we're gonna be like, well, look like the Packers are right about this whole method of drafting 2 wide receivers every year, which they've somehow done. I think it's like 4 out of the last 5 drafts, I think they have taken like at least 2 wide receivers. Like they have a method to their madness, and it's obviously working. Now on the flip side here, who is the 0-2 team that can get back on track? Because there are a few down at the bottom that are still trying to figure it out. And no, it ain't the Dolphins. And sadly, no, it's not. It's not Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers.
No. I mean, I'd love to say the Chicago Bears, and I hope that's the case.
You never know.
If they win this week, they go to Vegas, they play the Raiders. Maybe 2-2 is on the horizon, but you got to win this week. Yes. Let's not look too far ahead. I will not go with the Bears, though. The easy answer to this, Jovan, will be the Kansas City Chiefs, but I will also not go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to still have some hope with the Houston Texans. They lost in a close game Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know a lot of people were giving Nick Chubb some shit about scoring that final touchdown. Maybe should have went down and shoot up some more clock, but it is what it is. I'm still going to go with the Houston Texans as a team that I have hope in, just based off of playing in the AFC South.
Yep.
South. And I'm still not sure if I'm a believer in the Daniel Jones-led Indianapolis Colts or not, but what they've done has been very impressive. So I'm not going to shit on them too much, but I'm going to go with the Houston Texans just based off of the talent on that team. I know that offensive line is still an issue, but between the talent on that team and that coaching staff, I still have faith in. I mean, it's pretty surprising that they're 0-2. Again, they lost in a close one against Tampa Bay Monday night. I'm going to go with Houston in hopes that CJ Stroud and company turns it around, because that's still a very talented group.
Yeah, no, and like you said, the chalk answer would be Kansas City, and if Kansas City somehow loses to the Giants, then I think we can really sound alarms on that team, especially if that game's in prime. I think that game's in prime time. So
Sunday night.
Yeah, so if they lose to Russell Wilson and the Giants, then we can really sound the alarms. But I think, like you said, I think it is Houston, because like you said, they're a very talented team on paper. Like, you look at their defense at all three levels, and you're like, this is almost like a model of how you're supposed to build a young defense. Like, they did it correctly. Now they did it correctly. Now it's just, can you get your offense on track? Because this defense is going to keep you in games. They're going to keep you in games. It's going to be, can you get protection for CJ Stroud? Can Christian Kirk, who is supposed to be back after missing the first 2 games with a hamstring, can he be that wide receiver too? If he be that wide receiver too and does his thing in the slot, that opens up the entire field for him, because now you won't have to put a bunch of pressure on Jaden Higgins to kind of, be that guy, or Xavier Hutchinson, or even Jalen Noel, who looked really good on that one punt return on Monday night against Tampa Bay. Nick Chubb has looked solid in his debut, which his first 2 games he's looked well. Obviously, not having Joe Mixon, he's kind of done a great job. The offensive line is still a work in progress, right? So you look at the score of the games, and you're like, they were in each of them. They were in the game week 1. They just couldn't find the end zone. They had 3 field goals. The defense only gave up 14. You look at last week's game against the Bucks, they only gave up 20? I think.
Yeah, I think it was
like 2019. Yeah. I think this game was.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Again, your defense only gives up 20 points. Like, you just need your offense to get back on track. And you played Jacksonville this week. Jacksonville, I know, is coming off of a tough loss against Cincy on the road. Obviously, Travis Etienne has rekindled something in Liam Cohen's offense. Trevor Lawrence, I think he threw three touchdowns last week, but also tossed 2 interceptions. You don't know what you're going to get there. Brian Thomas Jr. still hasn't broken out yet and kind of built off what he did as a rookie.
Yeah, he had a lot of drops last week.
Yeah, and if there's a week for the Texans to get back on track, like you said, especially in this AFC South, which there's no really standout team like Jacksonville. You don't know. Tennessee, you still very young with Cam Ward, and then, like you said, the Colts with Daniel Jones. We don't know if this is just a flash in the pan or if he's actually that guy. So
my fantasy team is hoping he is, man. My fantasy team is hoping he is the guy, because I had Joe Burrow and I had to scramble, and unfortunately had to pick up Daniel Jones.
that damn turf toe got Joe Burrow for 3 months. That's tough. But hey, we'll see. Hopefully we'll see the Texans turn things around. It starts this Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And last but not least here on the pod, talking about the week 3 game that you're looking forward to the most as we wrap up the pie here. So, Chris, week 3 game that's not Bears related or not Eagles related for myself that we are looking forward to checking out in week 3.
That Eagles-Rams game should be pretty good. I'm not going to go there.
Yes,
but,
it will.
I mean,
it will be very good.
That was probably the best playoff game last season in all the postseason. So looking forward to that one. But I gotta say, there's a few intriguing matchups here. I gotta go with the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers, though. I mean, interdivision matchup, and both teams have high expectations. I mean, the Chargers, I was pretty close with choosing them as the team that has impressed me the most in terms of 2-0 teams. Justin Herbert has been playing at an MVP type level to start very early on in the season. Keenan Allen, I mean, the former Bear, Keenan Allen has kind of rejuvenated himself here the past couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on with his shoulders, but I don't know if you've seen that video or not.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But that's a team that's been really really fun to watch. I mean, I'd like to see Omarion Hampton have a little bit more success, find the holes, get some bigger runs in with that offense. But I mean, Justin Herbert is hitting on all cylinders. Quentin Johnston has been playing very well. I mean, so many people were ready to write him off last season, and he's gotten off to a hot start this season.
Shout out to TCU. He's bringing back TCU wide receivers.
Yeah,
Rager no more. Quentin Johnson is changing the narrative on TCU wide receivers.
Yeah, no kidding. And then didn't TCU have the receiver that Washington drafted probably 8-9 years ago now?
Josh Doxson.
Yeah, that's right. I think he's still in the league, or at least he was like last year or 2 years ago. He got a practice squad or something.
Yeah, very recent.
And then the Denver Broncos, I know week 1 was kind of an upset. I mean, Bo Nix did not play well at all, but that's a team that I think could have a top 3 defense in the NFL. And if Bo Nix is able to do anything that he did last season, or even better, then that could be a really scary team. I think talking about the 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, they better pick it up, because that is another tough division in this league. I mean, the AFC West, I mean, even the Raiders, I know now a lot of people are expecting too much out of them, and I know they struggled Monday night in the doubleheader, but I mean, the Raiders, they got that week 1 win against the New England Patriots, and that looks like a team that's going to be, in the very least, scrappy and in games with, of course, Pete Carroll, who's very, I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of, but he's a very known coach, and he's going to get his team to play. He had a lot of success in Seattle, obviously, and it seems like a lot of those players are buying in. They trade for Geno Smith, one of his guys. I mean, Max Crosby on defense. That division in general is just going to be very tough, and I think both the Chargers and the Broncos could be in conversation of winning that division. And again, certainly if Kansas City doesn't wake up.
Yeah, and then if you look at the Chargers, right, their first 3 games have been against division opponents. You start off 3-0. You have now created a 3-game lead in the division.
No kidding.
Which you love that kind of cushion early in the year, because your schedule, I haven't looked at the Charger schedule deep in the season, but just getting a 3-game lead this early, because like you said, if Kansas City eventually turns it around, you're going to need that cushion to kind of propel you. And I think that game, like you said, Chargers, Broncos, is going to be tremendous. I think for me, I would probably say the game I'm looking forward to the most, I'm in between 2. Obviously, I'm Lions, Ravens on Monday nights should be a good game. Baltimore has just been playing just insane football. Like Lamar Jackson looks like he can win another MVP.
Right.
And he's not even running the ball like that. He's doing it all from the pocket and just lighting teams up. He's just playing phenomenal football. The Ravens, I think, have scored 40 points in back-to-back weeks. Like, the Ravens offense is for real. DeAndre Hopkins has found the fountain of youth. He's looking like Houston Texans, DeAndre Swift. Not Tennessee Titans, not Kansas City Chiefs. He's looking like Nuke Hopkins from like his Houston days.
Yeah,
so I'm interested in seeing that game. I'm interested to see if Detroit can kind of build off what they showed last week, or do they fall back to what we saw, in week 1, especially because their defense, I'm still not sold on, especially from a pass rushing standpoint. I feel like they still need 1 or 2 more pass rushers right now because Marcus Davenport is hurt. Color me surprised. Marcus Davenport is hurt. So now you're dealing with Aiden Hutchinson, Al-Quadin Muhammad, former Bear, by the way, and Tyrus Wheat. There's not a lot of depth at that defensive end position. So it'll be interesting to see if they can contain Lamar and really kind of contain Derrick Henry. But the other game that's got my attention here is Vikings Bengals. I was going to say Steelers Patriots, but I'm not going there. I'm going Vikings Bengals, and I'm going Vikings Bengals because Carson Wentz will be getting a start for Minnesota. This is probably, I'm not going to say this is like the end all be all huge moment for Carson Wentz, but it kind of is. The last time we saw Wentz start a game was week 18 last year with the Chiefs, and he looked horrific. He looked bad. The Broncos obviously had something to play for, but I think the Chiefs got blanked. I think it was like 38-0. Like, it wasn't good at all. Like, it was not good. Obviously we saw the market for Wentz this offseason. It wasn't great at all. He did not get no interest whatsoever. It took for Sam Howell to get traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's crazy how this 6 degree of separation thing is happening. Sam Howell gets traded to the Eagles because the Eagles needed a QB3 because DTR and Kyle McCord just wasn't it. And Tanner McKee has been hurt with his finger. Vikings needed a QB2. Obviously, Max Brosmer, the UDFA out of the University of Minnesota, could be that guy, but Kevin O'Connell, needs a veteran guy, and who but there is Carson Wentz. So this is going to be very interesting to see if Wentz can kind of, because you don't know how long JJ McCarthy's going to be out there, saying 2 to 4 weeks right now. That
Battle of the backups.
Battle of the backups, Wentz versus Browning. This is going to be huge for Wentz because it's not like he's going to step in. He's going to step into a situation where he has weapons. He's going to be throwing to Justin Jefferson. He's going to be throwing to Thielen. I think Jordan Addison's coming back next week because after the 3-game suspension.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Still got Hawkinson. No Aaron Jones, but you still got Jordan Mason. Good trade by the Vikings, stinking ahead there with Mason. But this is a huge moment for Wentz. Can he show that he's not the broken quarterback that we've seen in Kansas City, even though he didn't play much, but that we'll see we'll hope to see if he's still the same broken quarterback that, look like what he was in Indy, Washington. I think he had a stint with the Rams too, if I'm not mistaken. Or like
that sounds right, yeah. I think
so he's bounced around. So this is the moment. If Wentz can have, and we see this every year in the NFL, there's always a team willing to take a chance on that veteran, a la Daniel Jones, a la before that, Sam Darnold. It can happen. This is the moment. If Wentz, he'll probably play at least 2-3 games. If he kind of puts together a good tape, he could build that market back up to where somebody might say, hey, Carson Wentz on a 1-year deal for $8 million might not be a bad idea. The Pittsburgh Steelers might think that because Aaron Rodgers is probably only playing on this 1-year deal. So I'm looking at that game.
Years old. He's only 32 years old. So I mean, if he plays well, there's still plenty of football ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
As someone in Philadelphia, as an Eagles fan, are you rooting for Wentz to do well, or do you just feel kind of indifferent? You don't really care one way or the other.
Indifferent. I'm indifferent. I think I'm more intrigued to see how he looks because of the last few places he's been at. Like, in Kansas City, really spent a year behind Mahomes, learned from Andy Reid. Again, Eagles connection here on the 6 degree separation.
Right.
Before that was with the Rams, who have become like the quarterback guru. We can change your life type of situation, like Baker Mayfield did.
Crazy.
That's another one. Got a second chance and ran with it. So knowing that he's been with those 2 teams and now he's been with, O'Connell for the last, few weeks in Minnesota, I'm interested to see if he can actually show us something. I don't know if it's, like I said, I'm indifferent, but I'm intrigued to see what Wentz do we see. Is it Washington, Indy Wentz, or is it Wentz that kind of figured things out? Because he's on his last leg here. The fact that he didn't get no free agent offers or nobody offered to work him out or bring him in for a visit, that's a little bit concerning. So yeah, that's where I'm leaning at. I'm looking at that Vikings Bengals game to see, and he'll get to throw a deep ball to Justin Jefferson. He's going to have that opportunity.
Right.
He's just got to hit it. If he does, I can already see the people on social media saying maybe Wentz should be the starter. But hey, we'll see. JJ McCarthy, like I said, should be back in 2 to 4 weeks. If not, there is a chance that sets up Eagles, Vikings after the bye for Minnesota, Hurts versus Wentz, which I don't think the world is actually ready for. But no, I think JJ will be back. I think JJ should be back at that point. If he's not, that's just Philly Sports Radio that week is going to be just a madhouse. I can already tell. But that's going to wrap up the pod here. That's going to wrap up the pod here this week. Again, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Total Sports Live, checking out the podcast on all your streaming platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Check out TotalSportsLive.com. Follow me on Twitter at Jovan10, also on Blue Sky at Jovan10.bsky.com. I think it's something along those lines. You guys know where you can follow Chris Shanafelt at. I don't have his Twitter handle up, but Chris knows it.
Yeah, just right where you see my name right there. It's just at Chris Shanafelt, all one word on Twitter.
There you go. At Chris Shanafelt. You cannot misspell it. It's literally right there on the screen.
You could probably still misspell it.
We just broke it down phonetically. Shan Felt, like that. Like just put it all together. Do that. Follow him on there. This should be a very interesting week 3. We'll see what happens with the Bears. We'll see what happens with the Eagles. We didn't talk with Eagles here, but that's okay. We'll see what the Eagles do. Can they go 3-0? Can the offense get their act together? And we'll see what happens with all the other teams we talked about this on this week's pod. Again, make sure you're following on all the platforms. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. If you have any commentary about today's show, make sure you drop it in the comments below on YouTube. And don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button like they always say on YouTube. So for me and Chris, everyone have a good one, and we will talk to you all very soon.